Excuse me. Are you ready to order dinner, sir?
No, thank you. I'm waiting for a friend.
Dr. Cieto, I'm so sorry.
Oh, not a problem.
Sorry I'm late.
It's been a long time.
That's right. How have you been?
I'm fine, thanks. Please sit.
Excuse me. This place is nice.
Oh, it's really worth it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. This is the finest place I've ever been.
It's expensive, but it's worth it.
I've never been to a place like this.
Oh, you deserve it.
Thanks a lot for inviting me.
My name is Cieto. I'm a professor at the State University of Campinas, Unicamp. This is actually the highest rank in academic teaching. So I've been through all other stages, like master's, doctorate, postdoctorate, instructor. And then I applied to become a professor.
Well, my name is Luiz. I'm 25 years old. It may seem odd, but not long ago I was living in the streets. Life was very different. I had no job. I had no home. I had nothing. But I still consider myself a dreamer. I'm completely lost. I don't know what to order.
Are you ready to order?
Well, I'll have the steak. Why don't you try the fish? The fish here is wonderful, really delicious.
It's okay. I don't know. I can't tell the difference.
Fish then, and steak. Thank you.
Thank you. Doctor, I'm new to all this.
I descend from Italians, so I decided to improve my study and research of the Italian language. So in 2009, I qualified to enroll at Perugia University in order to develop a course on Italian language, culture, and art. The Perugia University for Foreigners was founded in the 1920s with the purpose of teaching Italian culture and art history to foreigners. Perugia, one of Italy's most interesting towns in terms of artistic, historic, and architectural heritage, sits in the middle of the country between Rome and Florence. It's also a modern cultural hub with a very rich annual agenda of events and exhibitions, which makes it an interesting city year-round. In 2006, I again contacted other Italian universities in the context of my second postdoctorate, which I was researching for at the University of Sao Paulo, USP. So I did what we usually call a sandwich. I developed some research at USP and also in Italy. And I chose the University of Bologna, the world's best qualified university in the field of sanitary law. The University of Bologna is considered the oldest university in the Western world. It was founded in 1088. The University of Bologna is highly regarded all over Europe, so it became a destination for famous academics like Nicholas Copernicus, who started his astronomical observations there. Nowadays, Italy's former Prime Minister, Romano Prodi, teaches at the School of Economics. Once back in Brazil, I defended my thesis, which was presented and then officially recognized at USP.
My childhood was really poor. Since I was little, I had to learn how to work. My entire family was very poor. Even though I was quite a dreamer, no one could see me having a promising future. The best scenario people imagined for me was as a railroad worker like my father. Speaking of him, my dad, he was really strict and strong-willed. He used to hit us a lot. It was very clear how things were different when my father was home from when he wasn't.
You're very hungry, aren't you?
Whenever he was present, everything changed at home. He'd beat us with a whip. It was made of leather, and it hurt more than anything else. The whip would hang on the wall, so the whip was kind of a symbol, you know, of my dad's authority. It's difficult for me to describe how it was to be beaten by him. But much worse than the wounds and the scars was the way I felt inside. That made me really mad. I got so mad that the only solution I found was to leave home.
Let me see if I understand. You were searching for an alternative, right? Thank you. You were escaping a reality that didn't allow you to develop as a person.
It seemed like a prison. I mean, I had no perspective for the future. So good.
In 1983, I was awarded a postdoctorate scholarship from the Ministry of Education. So I got in touch with 4 American universities in order to see which would accept my research proposal. All 4 proposals were approved, so between them I selected Columbia University in New York. It was the most advanced of the 4 in the field I intended to research. Columbia University. At the time, and even today, it's still considered to be in the top 10. The top 10 are the 10 best qualified universities in the United States in teaching and research. And that is why I chose specifically this one.
So I got to Sao Paulo. Would you like a juice? All that movement, all those cars, the smoke, all the strange smells. Then I thought, wow, I'm in Sao Paulo, you know? One of the biggest cities in the world, the biggest in Brazil. When I arrived at the bus terminal, I had never seen so many people in my life. It was a mix of feelings, fear, amazement. It was overwhelming. The sad truth was that I had nowhere to go. Thinking about it, that I had nowhere to go and that I was alone, I didn't panic. Something inside comforted me, and I was in peace.
Thank you. So you arrived in Sao Paulo in December?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if you're in doubt, it's easy. Always start from the outside in.
Right, thanks.
You know what, Luiz? The streets have a strong appeal, especially for fulfilling needs which are more immediate. Studying, however, takes a lot more time, but it brings more solid results. Then in the 80s, I attended an international course to graduate as a health facility senior manager. The course was promoted by an international association of health facility managers. It was held at the University of London. Promoted by administrators from everywhere in the world. This cultural diversity provided us with the opportunity of a very interesting exchange. Also, to know new techniques, exchange know-how, and it was a really valuable experience.
This is Daniel. You know, that friend who's closer than a brother. That's him. His name is Daniel. Besides living in the streets, our realities were very similar. We came from similar backgrounds, from violent homes. This created a great bond between us, and our friendship grew a lot. We didn't enjoy living in the streets. We wanted out. I remember we always talked about how to overcome the situation, how to get out. I didn't spend much time feeling sorry for myself.
I'm hungry, man. What you got there? So?
I have a sandwich. Yeah, right? I was too poor. We lived in the streets. I had one set of clothes, nowhere to sleep. I had to look for food every day. I had nothing.
The State University of Campinas, Unicamp, is my workplace. It's where I work as a professor. and I started working there in 1976. Unicamp is one of the most important higher education institutions in Latin America. It's responsible for 15% of the scientific output in Brazil. With such intellectual output, Unicamp is regarded as Brazil's greatest research patent-producing institution.
It's an honor for me to be here now to talk about Professor Cieto. Besides being a wonderful human being, you know, persistent and innovative, he can turn the impossible into reality.
Dr. Cieto is someone who I respect a lot.
Professor Cieto is an icon for us in the nursing field.
His influence helped me become who I am today.
Because he came here to transform.
He had come from Sao Paulo in order to create the nursing course at Unicamp.
He really came in order to design and create this course.
So I implemented, designed, and developed the nursing course at Unicamp. And I was also held responsible for forming the faculty. Since we were starting the establishment of a new school.
I think everyone knows that a blanket for homeless people is old newspapers. Daniel, you're tired, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Look, see these benches? That's yours, and this one is mine, all right?
Right. Okay.
Let's lie down. We'd wrap them around our arms and around the legs as well. It isn't the same as a blanket, but it's warm. It warms a lot, and newspaper was all I had. I won't lie to you. The nights were always the most difficult. We never could really sleep. We snoozed. The stone beds, paper blankets, those were moments for reflection.
Hey, Luis. Don't you ever think of going back to your house? I know that we were poor, few resources. But man, we had food to eat and a place to sleep.
Man, no way. I won't give my father that joy. We're already here. Now we have to find a way out of this situation.
Luis, pay attention to what I will say. Even though the relationship with your father may have been difficult, it's important to have a foundation. It's extremely important to have a family foundation.
Wow. I talked about how my father was strict, but I have one good memory of him. My father had only elementary education, but he really enjoyed reading. So since I was little, I also enjoyed reading. Funny, because Daniel enjoyed reading as well. So we'd always find a way to go to the library, and we'd spend long hours studying.
the actual success, can't be measured by the amount of accumulated material assets. Instead, by the people you help, by the quality of the work that you provide, and by the spiritual direction the person chooses to take.
The spiritual direction? We wouldn't just read. We really loved music, and every weekend we'd look for a concert we could watch, a free one. It's interesting that we didn't enjoy any kind of music. I can't describe what I felt. Despite my miserable situation, at that moment I felt like the richest person in the world. That's how powerful art is. It made me feel like the person next to me.
I was also assigned to being part of a project to build and to design Unicamp's teaching hospital. I was a member of the hospital's Teaching Administrative Board, which is the highest deliberating body for all hospital activities. There I also instituted the nursing department. And from that moment on, all the students from the nursing school had access to the clinic's hospital for internships, or for the medicine student's residency, and other courses on healthcare.
We would go 2 times a week to a dam in the vicinity of Sao Paulo. It was quite far, but we'd always find a way to get there. Since we only had one set of clothes, we would get there, swim, and refresh ourselves, then take them off and wash them there. Then we'd wait until they dried. How are we getting back to town?
I don't know.
So we would be naked. We had no other clothes. I won't lie, it wasn't a comfortable situation. We would hide because we were afraid of getting in trouble for indecency. So we'd either hide or swim. When we got tired, we'd hide ourselves again. It may sound funny when I say it today, but in reality, it wasn't so much fun. Once dry, we'd put the clothes on and find a way to get back to Sao Paulo, downtown. Streets, there's nothing to eat, so we had to be extremely creative in order to get food. mangoes and a papaya?
Mangoes, they're 5 reals each.
Right, but
we
look,
have no money, but we can leave all these books here with you.
I need money, man.
But look,
take a look at these
are-
books. The price you're asking for the fruit is certainly much lower than the price for all of these books together.
But what am I going to do with these books?
But they're
And
worth a
books,
lot
look,
more.
You keep the books so that you're sure that
I
we're going to be
can't,
back.
man.
You don't
Yeah,
have to worry about it,
We're
okay?
really starving, sir. Please.
Please, man.
Please help us.
We're just really
Please,
hungry.
only this once.
All right, but only this
Please.
time, okay? Okay, this time.
Thank you.
Oh, God bless
Thanks
you.
a lot. 2 mangoes there,
Some
please.
mangoes, then.
Mangoes?
Yes, and the papaya.
I attained the level of professor, which is the highest level in the academic career. After an examination, I was inaugurated. I was assessed by an examination board, which is made up by 5 professors, 2 from Unicamp and 3 from public universities outside Unicamp. After the assessment, didactics, and practical test, I achieved the highest score, 10, from all examiners in all examinations.
I was thinking, I believe I grew up with principles at home, you know? The spiritual direction you mentioned.
Yes, in fact, the principles that a child acquires at the beginning of life, in their earliest years, even if they don't understand them at the moment, but coming from a solid source, like the parents, determine the way they will behave in the critical moments of their lives.
One of the hardest things in the streets is that there isn't a fixed place to sleep. Sleeping is a daily challenge.
Go. I'll get it. Here.
Go, go, go.
Well, at least we're lucky we found a place easily tonight.
Tonight we were lucky.
Tonight was easy.
We never cared much for comfort. But at least we wanted to be safe.
Lord Jesus, tonight we have much to complain about, but what we really want is to thank you for our lives. Thank you. Even with all our troubles, we still have peace and joy in our hearts, and many dreams. Please protect us and keep us safe tonight. Please protect us from the hardships and dangers of this enormous town. Please protect our families, wherever they may be. Luiz, Luiz, here, I brought this to you. Cover up. And help us continue upholding the principles we have learned since we were little. And thank you, because even with so much hardship, we still can count on you. Amen.
Having decided to study law, I had to prepare for the entrance exam. So I decided to study by myself. I did so for 6 months. I took the examination at the law school of the University of Sao Paulo, USP, and I was approved. law school of the University of Sao Paulo was the first law school founded in Brazil and is considered in international rankings as the best law school among all Brazilian universities. This school has graduated 13 Brazilian presidents, 53 governors of the state of Sao Paulo, and dozens of presidents and ministers of the federal Supreme Court. I immediately enrolled for the night course because at the time I was already a nurse. I was working. I had two jobs. One at the Brazilian Volkswagen plant, at the infirmary, and another at a hospital for public servers.
We met Neto at a church we attended. Neto was in Sao Paulo because he studied there. He was a very rich guy, so he didn't take life too seriously. But he had a great heart.
Guys, I know things are difficult for you. I brought you to this shop because I got a great idea. You see this pen? This is solid gold. My parents gave it to me. Then you, go on, take it. Take it.
But it's a family gift.
No, no problem. Take the pen at the pawn shop, and when you have money to get back, you can return it to me, huh?
For how long can we keep it pawned?
I think you can keep it pawned for 6 months.
But look, you don't have to worry. We're gonna get the money before that, and we're gonna return it to you.
Relax, I'm not worried.
Thanks a lot. Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. The pen was our savior several times. I remember that things were so difficult that we pawned the pen like 2 or 3 times.
My first graduation was at the nursing school. In the year of 1953, I took the entrance examination, having prepared for it by myself. I enrolled at USP's nursing school, and there I started a 4-year course, which I finished in 1957. That was the moment when the story of my life crossed paths with nursing.
And as time went on, things didn't improve, but I didn't give up. I always thought about the future, about overcoming this. We'd go from one hostel to another. It was like we kind of lived off people's goodwill, you know? And we could never pay. I'd always promised that we would pay by the end of the month, but we never did.
Now you have to go. Make other plans. Find another place. We're done with free stay. Grab your things and leave.
Listen,
Not here. Bye. Success. Regards.
another month. Eat it.
Every month you come with an excuse saying you don't have any money and you can't pay. I've had it. I don't want you here. Bye, Luiz. Luiz, go away. I'll call security. Go away.
Can we stay here?
It's interesting. My friendship with Daniel only got stronger. It was so strong that if we found an apple, for instance, we'd cut the apple in half. How was the work today?
It was okay.
Okay. So Daniel got a job at a laundry place. With that job, we were able to pay for a small room. Really small. It was a basement. It had only a single bed. We had to share, one at the feet, one at the head. The funny thing is that when it rained, it was difficult because there was a drip exactly in the middle of the bed. There was no other way. We had to arrange ourselves in a certain position, sort of like in a fetal position, and put a bucket right between us. It was me, Daniel, and the drip. He was working, but his salary was really low, and that room was all we could afford.
In order to enroll at the nursing school at USP.
I had to study a lot, really. Entering public university has never been easy, but for me, there was no other option.
As I was preparing for my first entrance examination,
I realized that life is made up of discoveries, of learning, and in order to learn, one needs to study a lot.
life is made of challenges and struggles.
You know, life is made of challenges and struggles.
At home, we had at the time a kind of leather whip. We must recognize that the poor man's blanket is old newspaper. Daniel is my best friend. A lot of the things we experienced were similar. We faced many situations together.
We'd wash our clothes with no soap. We had no soap. We'd wet them and rub them together for a long time. When we assumed that all the dirt was already washed off, we'd stretch them on the grass or on the trees, and we'd sit naked in the sun, waiting for our clothes to dry in order to return to town.
Since Daniel and I met in the streets of Sao Paulo with a similar background with regards to our families and social class, he soon adapted to living in the streets and started living as I did.
We'd sit or lie down on the concrete benches, but we'd never actually sleep. Sleeping was impossible. We had naps, but we never slept.
So the long story of my life goes from the homeless boy in Sao Paulo to a professor at Columbia University in New York, United States. God always fulfills our needs, but He won't do all those things that we can and we must do for ourselves. However, we should remember that when our will is awakened for some reason, we have to go after it. We must work hard. We have to fight. We must do our part.
I've always had the impression that Cieto was born with this gift. The relationship he has with studying portrays the will to one day show to society that despite being a boy with a poor background, it is possible to succeed in life. He would succeed in life.
It would have been easy to go from a homeless boy to a delinquent.
I never felt all the confidence because I felt Cieto had come to Sao Paulo with a goal. I didn't have any goals. I didn't. But I noticed Cieto was confident on what he wanted. He would most surely succeed. So he encouraged me to resume my studies. We understood that difficult conditions weren't a good reason for people not to work hard for their goals. We understood culture was available for everyone.
Excuse me. Are you ready to order dinner, sir?
No, thank you. I'm waiting for a friend.
Hey, Cieto. Sorry, I was stuck in traffic.
No problem at all. I was entertaining myself as I waited for you.
And what were you thinking about?
I was wondering what would happen if I met that Cieto you met in the streets of Sao Paulo so long ago. So young, poor, such a dreamer. What would I say to him?
Deus vê em suas lágrimas força pra vencer e ouve seus pedidos e quer te ver crescer. Mas sei que é difícil